Well, good evening. Um, I'm trying to get prepared for in the morning. It's Saturday evening, probably around 11:30 or so. And I'm out here trying to come up with something that the Lord maybe would give me. Um, I'd come across a paper that I had wrote down, and I like writing down questions that I would ask the people. And in order for me to ask the people questions, I have to ask the questions to myself first. And the number one first question is, what is the lost person going to say after Jesus returns? What is the excuses the lost person is going to say? Could they say they didn't know? I guess maybe to some, maybe can say that they didn't know, but I don't believe that to be true. I believe that God is not an unjust God. God is a faithful God. Could some people say that nobody told me? No, I think that there's so much gospel going on today that it should make people inquisitive. It should cause people to ask the question about this gospel. It should make people question they won't be able to say they didn't know. They won't be able to say that nobody told me. Can some people say that nobody warned me? I really feel like that I bring basically the same message every single time I'm asked to speak. And it almost seems sort of like a broke record. But part of my conviction is I just want people that refuse to believe, I don't want them to believe because I wasn't willing to share. I wonder what the lost person is going to do the moment after Jesus comes and gets his church. What will I do now? Could that be a question that they could ask? What am I going to do now? Could they ask the question, where did everybody go? I'm sure that no doubt that probably will have a concern in their mind of where did everybody go? The ones that was born again, the ones that was saved, where did all the people go? And then no doubt they will begin to remember will I have another chance? You know, I don't really know for sure of another opportunity when Jesus returns to get his church, if there's people that has had opportunity to hear and to listen, and they don't take the Lord up on his offer of his grace. And some people might go and say, well, God wasn't graceful to me. Well, I don't think that's going to hold water, because I'm looking at a verse over here in Titus chapter 2 in verse 11. In Titus chapter 2 and verse 11, Paul was writing to Titus. And in this verse 11, it says, "For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men." God's grace has appeared to all men. So is some people going to be able to say, where did everybody go? I'm sure that no doubt if the rapture was to happen today, that there's going to be a few people that's going to say that they didn't know, just like what I read off. They didn't know. Nobody told me. Nobody warned me. And what will I do now? Where did everybody go? I think this is another thing that's going to be said. Why didn't I take it serious? Don't you think that some people's going to kick themselves over and over? And it ain't going to do any good. Will I have a second chance? See, when the Lord comes back in the clouds to get his church, he removes the Holy Spirit from off the earth for a period of time. And the Spirit of God is not able to deal with people that has already heard. If a person has already heard the gospel and they've already been exposed to the grace of God, what does that tell you? Where is there going to be any conviction after the church is done raptured away and taken to heaven? What happens then? Some people is going to go and say, God is a good God, and he is. And God is a loving God, and he is. But he's also a just God. He's a just God. What will God say to the lost person? I haven't looked at this verse, but I have it wrote down on this paper. And I'm going to turn to it, but I haven't went and examined the verse. And I haven't examined it for the simple fact that I wanted to be surprised at what the answer would be. I'm in Matthew chapter 7. This is the Sermon on the Mount here. And he's telling them in chapter 7, he opens up that chapter, "Judge not, that you be not judged." And it says in verse 21 of that same chapter, "Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven." But listen to verse 22. "Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, and have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name have done many wonderful works. See, there's a lot of people that's going to say, well, Lord, I did all these things. I did all these works. And then he says in verse 23, and then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Is that what he's going to say? He's going to say that to the lost, to the person that is lost. But over in Matthew 25, I believe it is. I might have to check my paper here. Matthew chapter 25 and verse 34. Now, here's what I wrote down. What will God say to the saved? Now, if he's going to say, depart from me, I never knew you, to the lost, what will God say to the saved? Matthew 25 and verse 34. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. There's going to be an invitation given to the people of God. Now, if we've read that he's going to say, depart from me, I never knew you, to the people that are lost, and he could possibly even say this verse 34, come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. See, God knows who his family is. He knows who his family is. And the question I think I would have to ask you today is what will Jesus say to you? If you know him today and you know him in salvation, then we have to go back over to Titus chapter 2 and verse 11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men. So if a person says that they didn't know and they had no clue, then that's simply not true, because Titus made it very plain. I'm glad that I know him. There was a time in my life that I didn't know him. There was a time in my life that he could have easily said to me, depart from me, I never knew you. But I'm glad that he made me and gave me an opportunity to hear the words, come, ye blessed of the Lord. Enter on in. You know, I don't know what people's going to do after the catching away of the church. That is no doubt my emphasis on the message tomorrow. I have no clue. I've got a message here. What is the lost person going to say after Jesus returns? I've got a message here on the word watch. And I'm not talking about a Timex. The word watch is mentioned in the Bible 115 times. I have one here on the rapture. And I'm using verses that I have not used before, found in the book of Joel, in the book of Luke, in the book of Daniel, in the book of Matthew, in Ezekiel, in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, and also in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Are you hearing him speak to you? I made up a message on the Lord and how many times the word Lord is used in the Bible and how many times it's used in the New Testament. A lot of verses I came up with. I don't know how in the world I could get to all of these verses. Then I've got a message here. What is between you and Jesus? What's between you and Jesus? I don't know which message I'll use tomorrow. I pray that God will give me peace on whatever comes out of my mouth, that he will bless what he hears me say. My desire is to know him more and to be closer to him and to be more of a guide to people that do not know him. And I have no clue of who's going to be there, but I need the Lord's help. elderlyministry.com is the website. There's a phone number on the webpage that you can go. I have an email if you'd like to email me. That email was found there. I even have Skype for people that have Skype. I don't mind talking to someone over the phone. But what is people going to say after the coming of the Lord? Are they going to say they didn't know? No, they can't say that. I pray that they will never be able to say that when they happen to come by this channel. I hope that they will be able to say, you know what, we heard about the coming of the Lord and how that grace has come to every man, that God has brought salvation and willing to bring salvation to every man. That don't leave out anybody. I thank y'all for watching tonight.